Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many times has a woman looked you in the eye and said, "I'm just not ready for a relationship right now," only to find out months later that she was suddenly ready, just not with you? How many times have you heard the noble promise that money doesn't matter, only to watch her attraction evaporate the moment your professional momentum slowed down? There are specific phrases women commonly use that sound harmless, even reassuring on the surface, but they carry a completely different psychological weight underneath. Men don't usually get hurt because they love too much. They get hurt because they decode the language wrong. They listen to the words while ignoring the energy. In this video, I'm going to show you the 6 most common lies women tell men. My goal isn't to attack women, but to expose the emotional logic behind these shields. Once you see the mechanism, you won't be fooled by softness ever again. I understand why these phrases are used from a female perspective, and I also understand why men misread them so easily. If you want to become the kind of man who evaluates patterns instead of clinging to empty promises, then sharpen your perception and let's dive into the first reality. The first and most frequent lie is, "I'm not ready for a relationship." She usually says this after a few weeks or months of dating. The chemistry was there, the dates felt promising, and you thought momentum was building. Then, in that calm, almost apologetic tone, she drops the line, and you, being a logical man, nod your head. You tell yourself the timing is just off, that she's healing from a past wound or stressed at work. So you stay patient, you stay available. But here is what you need to understand. Readiness and desire are not the same thing. Readiness is logistical, but desire is emotional. Real, raw desire does not wait for perfect conditions. When a woman genuinely wants a man, time compresses, obstacles shrink, and schedules rearrange themselves overnight. She doesn't hesitate, she accelerates. That is how attraction behaves when it is alive. It moves toward the object of desire, not away from it. When she says she isn't ready, it actually means she doesn't feel enough desire for you to override her fears or distractions. Instead of saying, "I don't see you as that man," she chooses a soft exit to avoid feeling like the villain. Women are highly attuned to social perception, and being seen as cruel creates internal discomfort, so the rejection is wrapped in silk. If you accept the role of the patient waiter, you are silently confirming that you weren't her first choice. Chosen men don't have to wait. Optional men do. A man who knows his value doesn't negotiate a timeline. He respects the no and steps back into his own clarity. The second lie sounds incredibly noble. Money doesn't matter to me. If you've ever feared being valued only for your wallet, these words feel like a massive relief. Finally, someone who sees your heart, right? But listen carefully. When a woman says money doesn't matter, she isn't rejecting wealth. She is rejecting the obsession with status at the cost of presence. However, money in her psychology is deeply tied to the concept of safety. This isn't about luxury, it's about nervous system safety. The quiet whisper that says, "If life gets chaotic, this man won't collapse." Security is an ancient biological requirement. Even today, that wiring hasn't disappeared. It has simply evolved. She doesn't need a king, but she absolutely needs a man who can steer the ship. When you hear "money doesn't matter" and you use it as an excuse to settle into stagnation, you are killing her attraction. She might support you while you are grinding and building. That phase is powerful because it shows momentum. But if building turns into drifting and ambition turns into excuses, her attraction will erode. Not because she is materialistic, but because she subconsciously reads stagnation as weakness. Safety to a woman is rarely about the current balance in your bank account. It is about your trajectory. She needs to feel safe with your future, and momentum is the only proof of a reliable trajectory. The third phrase usually appears in moments of accelerated intimacy. "I usually don't do this, but with you, it's different." Your ego lights up when you hear this. You feel exceptional, as if you've unlocked a secret level no other man could reach. It feeds the primal desire to be the one who broke through the walls. But slow down and think. When someone has to verbally announce their standards right as they are breaking them, it's a form of image management. This phrase is rarely about you being extraordinary. It's about her preserving the image of being selective. She knows how men judge availability. So, before crossing a line, she installs an alibi. She frames the moment as rare and emotional so she can hand you a medal for earning something that might not be as exclusive as it sounds. If a rule collapses within hours, it wasn't a rule. It was decoration. Principles that truly matter hold under pressure and do not evaporate because of charm. When her ego wants to believe you are the exception, your standards should demand evidence. Real uniqueness doesn't need a narrator. It proves itself through repetition and integrity over time. Don't let flattery rewrite your discernment. The fourth lie is often said firmly, "My ex means nothing to me." You feel relieved, thinking there's a clean slate and no emotional baggage, but then his name keeps surfacing in comparisons, complaints, or random stories. Understand this. Indifference is quiet. It doesn't need reinforcement or repetition. When someone is truly irrelevant, they naturally disappear from the conversation. If she is repeatedly bringing him up, even negatively, that is unfinished emotional processing. Denial feels empowering for her because it creates the illusion of closure. But emotions don't die just because they are dismissed. They go underground and mutate. If she hasn't fully detached from the past betrayal or disappointment, you aren't stepping into a clean relationship. You are stepping into an emotional renovation project. This is where men fall into the hero trap. You think you'll show her that not all men are like her ex, and slowly you become her emotional repairman. You pay for wounds you didn't create. The danger is that once she finally heals, you might represent the weak version of her life, and she may move on once the bleeding stops. A woman who has truly let go doesn't need to convince you. You'll feel the absence of tension. If the ghost of the ex is still at the table, you are not alone in that relationship. The fifth lie is one of the most misunderstood. I just want a nice guy. Almost every man translates this into being agreeable, supportive, and avoiding tension. You soften your edges and prioritize her comfort over your own convictions. But in the female emotional system, nice doesn't mean weak or compliant. It means warm but immovable. Attraction requires polarity, and polarity requires a backbone. When a man has no firm boundaries or standards, desire has nothing to push against and passion dissolves. Good men often sabotage themselves by pedestaling her too early or apologizing for things they didn't do just to maintain harmony. Women do not fall in love with fans. They fall in love with men who respect them without worshiping them. Kindness without strength is invisible. If your niceness comes from a fear of rejection, she will sense that anxiety and lose interest. Female tests are not cruelty. They are a calibration of your stability. A truly high-value man can be gentle and firm in the same breath. He can say no without raising his voice and disagree without attacking. Kindness is only magnetic when it is backed by the strength to walk away if his standards aren't met. The sixth lie is the ultimate positioning tactic. I'm not like other girls. To a man who has been burnt by drama, this feels like oxygen. But real difference doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself. When someone has to verbally elevate themselves above a category, there is usually deep insecurity underneath. She is trying to shape the narrative and brand herself before you've even seen her actions. This phrase is a shield used to separate herself from an invisible crowd. The deeper pattern tying all these lies together is image management. Whether it's "I'm not ready" or "I'm not like other girls," each phrase creates a version of reality that feels safer than the raw truth. If you take these words at face value, you are building your house on sand. Words create illusions, but actions reveal structure. A woman who is truly different will show it in how she handles conflict, how she treats people who can do nothing for her, and how consistent she remains when the initial excitement fades. A wise man becomes an observer of patterns. He isn't cold or cynical, he is simply steady. He is like a lighthouse that doesn't chase the waves or argue with the wind. He stands firm and reads the current. A woman's words will often test your ego, but her actions will always test your standards. If you react to her words, your ego is leading you. If you evaluate her actions, your standards are leading you. Don't buy the brand before you inspect the product. None of these phrases exist because women plan to deceive you. They exist as shields because vulnerability is risky and rejection is heavy. But if you don't understand the mechanism, you will invest based on hope instead of evidence. You don't need to become distrustful, you just need to become steady. Stop arguing with the language she uses and start watching how she behaves when she is frustrated, how she handles your boundaries, and whether her actions align when the emotions calm down. That is where the truth lives. A man who leads his relationships doesn't get hypnotized by comfort phrases. He doesn't chase clarity when the behavior has already given him the answer. He observes, he decides, and he moves accordingly. Your time and energy are finite. Don't waste them on a narrative that doesn't match the reality. The more you understand the hidden mechanics of female psychology, the less power external words have over your peace of mind. You don't need to fix anyone else's patterns. You just need to ensure yours are strong enough to attract the right person. Lead with your standards, stay grounded in your mission, and let the truth reveal itself through time.